I hope you guys had a good time in your breakout rooms. We had awesome conversation in our group, so I'm so glad that happened. So now we are going to go ahead and have our guest speaker, Marcus Gilmore, talk about Go Writing Day. So if you could go ahead, share a little bit about what you're doing, what is your vision behind all this. We are just excited to have you.
Amazing. Go ahead, Mike.
So, just real quick. So after Marcus is done speaking and we move on to our Q&A later on, we'll have an opportunity. You can look on your bottom right. There's a reaction tab. So that space right there, go ahead and raise your hands up, and then that's when we'll be able to call you guys. All right? Perfect. Sorry about that.
All good, man. Thank you again. So first off, I appreciate you all for having me today. Mike, me and him were on the phone on Tuesday night, and he was like, I got an idea. I'm bringing you to the Sudolink. And I'm like, Mike, sure, whatever you say, I can do. And that's why I'm here today. And I've been supporting him since college, but now it's amazing to see his growth and the people around him grow as well. Again, my name is Marcus Gilmore. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas. I currently live in New York. I've been living there for a little over 3 years now, going into my 4th year in August. And like I was telling people in our smaller group, that I found my love for media and the industry in general when I was at the age of 10. I was working at my church, working on the media ministry. So we would record the sermons and put them out on the radio and TV. And I'm being exposed to this at 10 years old. And it was the perfect thing for me. I went on to the University of North Texas, where I studied television, radio, and film. I had a jazz show. I actually was one of the producers for the television network as well on campus. And then after that, I went to work under a guy named Tom Joyner, who is one of the, I would consider him a legend in the radio space, but also one of our beloved industry moguls. And so I learned a lot in that space. But during that time, I was like, hey, you know what? I need to be in advertising. I was also, moonlighting as a TV producer at, not a TV producer, but working in production for NBC5. And so on the weekends, I wasn't hanging out. I was actually at the studio from 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. So maybe I did hang out and then have to go directly to the studio. So that wasn't a good combination at all. But now I, again, moved to New York and work in advertising there. My clients include companies like Verizon, Walmart, American Express, a couple spirit brands where we do a lot of experiential marketing. I've worked experiences at Super Bowl 54, NBA Draft 2019, NBA Draft 2018, NFL. I've worked with a lot of the baseball teams as well. So I've kind of been all over the place, even in these short 3 to 4 years. One thing I would say is that advertising in the industry in general has taught me how to move at a very rapid pace. In 1 year, I can work on at least 40 projects, and that allows me to, one, see a lot of numbers budget-wise, but also know how to get something done from start to finish. In 2015, taking a step back, in 2015, I launched my own media company. What I realized is that it's cool to work in corporate and I love it, but also I need to have that space where I can deliver back to my community and back to my friends, right? If you talk to anyone around me, you would say, hey, we've done a project together or we've worked on something together. And I'm excited to see Cynthia here. I text her when I saw her picture on the flyer and I'm like, I finally get to be on a project with you. I finally get to do something with you. And we are not only classmates from the University of North Texas, but also members of the same business fraternity. So we have been around each other since some youngins, right? So that's amazing. And so my media company that I launched, I have been able to not only employ my friends and create great community outreach, but I've also been able to launch a couple brands underneath that. And one is theculturesupplier.com, which is my one of my news outlets that I use for a lot of my partnerships. And then one of my campaigns is National Goal Writing Day. So before I go into there, in the chat, drop what's motivating you today, what's been motivating you this month, or even in 2021. In the chat, drop type out what is motivating you today, this year in 2021. Doesn't matter. And we'll wait for those to drop. Yes, growth. I love that. And I think it's important seeing change happen. I think that's important to know what's motivating you. That's where goals are centered around. A lot of people look at things that are based on numbers or what other people influence them to think about where their life should be. And honestly, we all have different views on what we want to be and who we want to be. The future, mastering, I saw someone say, mastering adulting, right? Tell me about it. Self-love, right? And so when you write your goals, it's being able to center yourself around what's really motivating you. In about 5 years ago, December 27th is actually the official day of National Goal Writing Day. So this year we reached 5 years, and it was really special, right? Because the idea came from just sitting with my friend, and I'm like, I don't want to have a vision board party, right? I understand that, but it just didn't seem like me. But I was like, if I can create a national holiday, I feel like that would really bring people together. That would bring my peers together. So that night I text my sister, who is my official assistant, confidant, person that tells me I'm wrong when I'm right, but she's definitely my team supporter. And I said, I'm going to launch a national holiday, and it's going to be called National Goal Writing Day, where I'm going to encourage people to just write their goals. They don't have to share them on social if they don't want to, because a lot of people don't want to give away what they're working on because they think someone else is going to take it. But I believe in what's for you is for you, because you know who runs it all. And so that's how I feel. But on the other side, I wanted to make sure that we are developing goals. How do we write them? What is motivating us? And being able to make them SMART goals, making them obtainable, and they're measurable. And so that's where National Goal Writing Day started. And in 2020, like all of you, I kind of went through that space where the pandemic hit me, right? And so I'm like, these goals are really important now, because I've had a time to reset. I had that time to kind of figure out what's important and what is not important. So this year's theme since it was the 5th year, was called Goals Reloaded, where we took the goals from our previous year, which was 2020, and we reloaded them for 2021. We didn't get rid of them. We adjusted and figured out, was this a goal that I really had intention behind? Or was it a goal that I saw someone else post on Instagram and it's like, oh yeah, I want the new house with 6 bedrooms, or I want that car, or was that really your goal? And that's what Goals Reloaded was centered around. And so if you go to the Instagram page, which is at National Goal Writing Day, you can kind of see some of the campaign that was from December 27th this year, as well as just some of the posting and also goals that people have shared over this time. I think that someone said, kind of explain SMART goals, and I'll get to that. But I think goals should reach and meet 3 criteria, and that's making sure they're measurable, meaningful, and obtainable, right? And so that's kind of where that SMART goal idea is around. And also that's why I asked, like, what's motivating you? Because those 3 things, you can now branch out from there. So again, I'll say that goals should be measurable, meaningful, and obtainable. I hope I'm saying that right. Attainable. I want to do this too before I move on. And so imagine it visually, being able to almost like this links of chains that you're building around those 3 things, right? So you take your motivation, whatever your motivation is for that year, if that's adulting. So adulting may include getting a handle on my finances, making sure my mental health is together, focus on if that's getting a new car or whatever it may be, but and building your family. So now your goals should be following up underneath that, which are they meaningful? What does that mean to you? If you get a new car, what does that mean to you? If you, you get your finances together, what does that mean to you? What does getting your finances together mean? So it's breaking those things down, not just saying, I want $1 million, but breaking down what $1 million is really going to mean to you if you get it. It's not, it's not the money across the arm kind of thing, stacking them up against your ear. We don't do that no more. We have meaning behind why we want that money, right? If that's to fuel your community or anything like that. And so that allows you visually to come up with where you're going to be before you get there, because you have mentally prepared yourself to say, I want this goal. This is why it's meaningful to me, how I'm going to measure it. If I need $1 million by the end of the year, what do I have to do every single month to get there? And so you apply that to everything. If that's a car, if that's launching your business, if that's starting your writing your book, right? Like that's things people really want to do. Put out your first product online, put out your first t-shirt. How do you do that? You got to make that measurable. You got to make that meaningful to you. And so I break my goals down that way, and then I break them into categories: professional, personal, financial, and health. Only 4. This is an awkward 4. And breaking those down, now you know, because you don't have the same goals every year, right? Sometimes you really want to focus on personal and financial goals. Some years you like, I got a raise at work, so now it's time to focus on getting a new position. So it's going to be professional and health. So making sure that you break those categories down so you have goals you can focus on. Because if you just write a list of 20 things with no directions, you're not going to, it's a very low percentage that you're going to obtain those goals. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe you will, but I'd rather us be effective and efficient on how we change our mindset. And so that's how I break those down. And that's how I instruct people who participate in National Goal Writing Day as well, is breaking them down in categories, but also giving meaning to your goals. And so I think that it's been a special moment to even have this conversation today. And even Mike, I thank you for allowing me to talk to these trendsetters, these thinkers, these doers today, and encourage them as well. And so hopefully this was some insightful information. And again, I want to connect with you all. I'm going to drop this in here as well for anyone who wants to chat with me after this. But this is my email, which is connect@3030media.com. The Instagram page to 3030 Media, National Goal Writing Days Instagram page, as well as mine. So you can send me a message there or email me as well. But would love to, I definitely want to follow everyone back. I'm not those kind of like, ratio kind of thing, whatever, bro, like doesn't even matter. But I'm focused on definitely growth and real connections. So send me a message, let's connect. Thank you, Mike, again for this opportunity.
Amazing. I love it. Love to see it. All right. So we're going to go ahead and go into our question and answer time. I've got a list of questions. So sorry.
I didn't know if there was a couple questions I saw in the chat. So you tell me how you want to answer. You want me to answer those?
Yeah. So we've got a whole list of questions we're going to ask the panelists. So we've got your questions here that people put in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead. Marcus, we'll get back to those questions for sure, okay?
Perfect. Yep.
We're going to go back to Cynthia. Was there any questions that anyone had specifically for Cynthia that was not asked?
You just talked about how SMART goals has changed your life.
Yeah.
And into a positive way. I just wanted to ask, what was your most defining moment in this last, let's say, 5 decade of years?
Yeah, and that's a tough question, right? I'll say this. I look at the things that I've done over the past, let's say 5 to 8 years. And one, even though I said I wasn't going to do these things, they still happened. Cynthia knows this, but there is a message that she just sent me and said about moving to New York. I think that at this moment, I never thought I was going to move there. And so but I had to listen to my path and say, okay, I want to work in advertising. I cannot deny the moment that is about to happen. If that's moving because I'm going to join an 8-month program, that's what God created. I believe in God. So that's what he created. That was the space he created. Even though my parents were like, you sure you want to go? What about this? It's dirty. You got to ride the subway. I felt that moment coming. And so if I denied that moment, I would not be here today. I would not be having this conversation today. So it's being able to accept the path that is coming because you pray on it, you desire it, you are making your goals to make that relevant to you. And so being able to see that, that's how you are, that's defining moments, right? Defining moments don't come out of the sky. I don't think they come out of the sky, out of nowhere. They're compounded things that just happen and keep things just happening in a certain way, and you have to listen to that. And so I believe that that's how I view today, living in a Texas guy living in New York. You ask me how I do it, I just figure it out, but I believe that I'm there for a reason, and I don't get outside of that.
So good, Marcus. Thank you so much for that. One last question. What strategies do you use to stay motivated towards attaining your own goals? When you find yourself slacking?
I will say this, right? I have figured out, I can recognize when I'm about to slack or when I need to reset. Actually, this past weekend was one of those reset moments. I said, you know what? I'm gonna take 4 days. We have unlimited PTO at work. Don't tell me that, all right? Because we're about to go. And so I took Wednesday through Friday off, and I took a trip, and I said, all right, I need that break because I'm getting my master's, so I know that it's just gonna keep going if I don't stop myself. So take that break so I can reset. And so that's one of my strategies. I know I can recognize today when I'm feeling a certain way or when I'm feeling I'm about to get off course. And I'm inspired by others. So if that's listening to certain podcasts, if that's going to listen to podcast stories that will inspire me to say, hey, stay in gear, stay in a good gear, stay in gear 8. That's not a real gear, but stay in that space where you know you're moving at a good pace. Because if I'm working, and this is how I see it, but levels 1 to 10, but if I'm in like 7 or 8 constantly, I know I can ramp up to 10, but I also can downshift to about 6 and still be in a good spot for myself. And so being able to recognize when I'm feeling like, hey, I need to downshift a little bit. Like out of the 5 days, instead of, getting off work, working out, and then going back to work on my own business, tonight I'm gonna take off. Right? Call my sister, let's FaceTime. Or since I'm here in Dallas, just go sit in there and play a couple games of backgammon against my dad or cards against my dad or whatever, or do stuff that will downshift me, and then I'll ramp up again tomorrow. And that's just how I've kind of found the strategy for myself today, and because I have that time. And I think that as a man that aspires to continue to achieve in life and desire to have a family, if I don't understand that today and how to manage my time, when it comes, I won't be able to handle it, and then something's going to give. And so learning that today at this age, I think will be one of the beneficial moments for my life. Adulting, as someone said earlier.
Nicole, you have your hand up. If you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. My question is pretty much for Marcus as well. And basically, I was wondering, how were you able to, like, now that you have a media company and then also other companies under that umbrella, how are you tackling the, like, oh my gosh, sorry guys, I guess, like, you know, navigating through those spaces and like how you're helping the community or whatever, right? Like, how are you helping your community or the Black community? And like, just kind of like the idea of the burden of knowledge, I guess, like what you know, and when you go to apply it, how the realities don't match sometimes. Does that make sense?
I think it.
You can ask me to clarify.
Yeah, clarify it one more time, so I won't go. I'll ramble. So you gotta read me in a little bit.
I mean, I guess like the idea of my question is related to. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible at this.
It was fun. So are you asking, or just knowing that I have a business, how I just understand the inner workings of the business, how I also contribute to my community? What are some of the things that I'm doing in that space? Or
yes, that's exactly what it is. And then also just kind of like the barriers that are in place for you, and how you go around those barriers.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. One thing I would first off saying is like, what I want to first say is that the barriers are there for us. We look a certain way, they don't like that. And so I'm figuring out a way to embrace the no's. I've learned to embrace the no's very early. Just means not right now, whatever you say. The other part is
and then just attach that to your mental health, how you maintain it based on those kind of reactions and stuff too. Yeah,
I would say, I'll talk on that right now. I would say is that I'm in a space today where I'm not afraid to say, dang, I don't feel good. I didn't like that. Like, I have coworkers where we like, bro, I didn't like how she said that or he said that. Or when they kind of put me in a space to feel not appreciated, right? I would say this too. My 9 to 5 is basically the space where I get to play in a different arena all the time. I understand how a company and agency makes money. I understand what a partnership means. I understand what it looks like when a project is in the millions. What does that feel like? And what it feel like if you lose that million? I can see that, right? And so I'm taking that corporate space and then I'll take it over to my community and say, okay, or sometimes I blend them, right? Like if I go to LA and they say, hey, Marcus, we need staff on site to help with brand ambassadors. We need a photographer, videographer on set. Before I go to anybody that we've worked with in the past, I drop it in my group meetings and like, hey, is there a photographer in LA? Hey, is there a videographer in LA? Hey, I need BAs to work at this experience in LA. And I'll take that, find a way to filter them through our agency. And now I've helped my community. I've changed just in that moment. I put them in our directory for work. And I've also exposed them to just the corporate space of advertising. And now they have that attached to their name. I think that those are the moments where I figure out how to blend, right? Now that in that same space, I'm like, all right, now since I have my own media company, I'm gonna look at foundations, look at podcast shows, look at influencers who are saying, oh, I want to, have my own event, or if I want to launch a new product, I know how to coach them, and not only coach them, but come up with strategies from beginning to end. I know how to develop a PowerPoint deck that is captivating, right? And makes you say, ooh, he can do what we want, because I've seen it at the super large scale where we're trying to sell Verizon on the Super Bowl idea. Right? If you look up Super Bowl 54, NFL, Verizon Dome, that's the project that I worked on. And for us to sell that idea, your PowerPoint deck better be on point. Like, not better, B-E-T-T-A. Like, it better be perfect, because they're about to spend that number, right? And so it's being able to take those moments at work, filter it over, right? And so it's helping a friend who is reconstructing a home and then they're about to put it on sale. All right, hey, here's the type of photos we need to take. And you know, it's just those kind of things that I filter in between both lanes rather than saying, oh, I'm gonna be 100% corporate. I am 100% corporate, right? 9 to 5, but 5 to midnight. And on the weekends, I'm for my people, I'm for my community, and I'm trying to change those Black dollars as much as possible. And working with other minorities as well, but at the same time, it's taken from the corporate and giving back to my space as well. Not the time.
Thank you for answering that. And so what I'm getting from your answer is more about like compartmentalization and stuff like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And it's not easy. And like I said, it's not something I'm perfect at, but I think that if you look at some of the greats today in whatever field, they know how to put things in spaces and pockets and reach in each one when necessary. They're not, you know, they don't try to blend everything. They just compartmentalize. And that's what works for me, just my makeup.